Hello viewers, welcome to the channel. My name is Ayantika and today I am going to discuss a short story from the book Treasure Chest for the students of class 9. Now, the name of the short story is Bonku Babu's Friend, written by famous Indian filmmaker and author Satyajit Ray. This Bengali short story was first published in a Bengali magazine called Sandesh in the year 1962. Under the title Bonku Babur Bondhu. This version that you are reading is taken from the collection Three Rays. Bonku Babu's Friend is one of the well-known short stories that actually highlight Ray's talent as a storyteller. While Ray is best known for his movies like the renowned Pother Pachali, Oporajito, Upur Songshar, Devi, Mahanagar, The Adventures of Guppy and Bagha, among others, he was a music composer, he was an illustrator, he was a writer, he was an essayist and also a publisher. Okay, now students, if you have seen even one movie of Satyajit Ray, you must have noticed that all his movies had this distinct style, right? Similarly, his writings explored ideas and places that were very much uncommon in Indian literature, especially in books written for children. Satyajit Ray created some of the most famous characters like Feluda and Professor Shonko, whose books are still read by millions of readers even today. Satyajit Ray had received numerous national and international awards. Some of the most notable awards are Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, Bharat Ratna. The Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences awarded Ray an honorary Oscar in the year 1992 for his lifetime achievement. Now, students, I gave you this brief introduction about Satyajit Ray because since this is a Bengali story, I wanted you to get the proper feel and the flavor of the story. Okay, let's get started. Students, so I am going to read one paragraph or one part of the story and then explain it, okay? Now, reading Bonku Babu's Friend by Satyajit Ray. No one had ever seen Bonku Babu get cross as in angry. To tell the truth, it was difficult to imagine what he might say, do if one day he did get angry. It was not as if there was never any reason for him to lose his temper. For the last 22 years, Bonku Babu had taught geography and Bengali at the Kankurgachhi Village Primary School. Every year, a new batch of students replaced the old one. But old or new, the tradition of teasing poor Bonku Babu continued among all the students. Some drew his cartoon on the blackboard, others put glue on his chair, or on the night of Kali Puja, they lit a chasing rocket and set it off right behind him. Okay, so the story Bonku Babu's Friend by Satyajit Ray revolves around a 50-year-old man named Bonku Babu or Bonkubihari Datta, who is a calm and a mild-mannered geography and Bengali teacher at the Kankurgachhi Village Primary School in West Bengal. Now, please note that the mention of 22 years at Kankurgachhi Village Primary School indicates that Bonku Babu had been teaching at the school for a significant amount of time. Okay, and from this paragraph we can gather that he has a mild and a calm nature. That is why he did not protest against the practical jokes or the ridicule hurled at him by the students. This sentence, every year a new batch of students replace the old one, but old or new, the tradition of teasing poor Bonku Babu continued among all the students. This sentence suggests that the students have teased Bonku Babu throughout his tenure at the school. Okay, and the tradition of teasing him persisted even when old students were replaced by new ones. So, what did they do? Some of the students drew his cartoon on the blackboard, while others put glue on his chair, so whenever he would sit, he would get stuck. On the night of Kali Puja, they even went as far as setting off a rocket right behind him. Next paragraph. Bonku Babu did not get upset by any of this. Only sometimes he cleared his throat and said, "Shame on you boys." One of the reasons for maintaining his calm was simply that he could not afford to do otherwise. If he did lose his temper and left his job in a fit of pique as in sudden anger, he knew how difficult it would then be to find another at his age. Another reason was that in every class there were always a few good students, even if the rest of the class was full of pranksters. Teaching this handful of good boys was so rewarding that to Bonku Babu, that alone made his life as a teacher worth living. At times, he invited those boys to his house, offered them snacks, and told them tales of foreign lands and exciting adventures. He told them about life in Africa, the discovery of the North Pole, the fish in Brazil that ate human flesh, and about Atlantis, the continent submerged under the sea. He was a good storyteller. He always had his audience enthralled. Here, pranksters refer to mischievous students who play tricks or practical jokes on other people in the class. Here we can see that despite being continuously teased by his students, Bonku Babu remained remarkably composed. Only sometimes he would scold them with a disapproving "shame on you boys" statement. Okay. Now, Bonku Babu maintained this composure of his because he understood that he could not afford to react angrily and lose his temper. Why? As it might cost him his job. And as you can understand that if Bonku Babu lost his job at the age of 50, it would be difficult for him to find another job. Next paragraph. During the weekend, Bonku Babu went to the lawyer, Sripati Majumdar's house, to spend the evenings with other regulars. On a number of occasions, he had come back thinking, enough, never again. The reason was simply that he could put up with the pranks played by the boys in his school, but when grown-ups, even middle-aged men, started playing the fool with him, it became too much to bear. At these addas that Sripati Babu hosted in the evenings, nearly everyone poked fun at Bonku Babu, sometimes bringing his endurance almost to breaking point. So, during the weekend, Bonku Babu and others gathered at Sripati Majumdar's house, who was a lawyer, to spend evenings chatting with other like-minded people. This indicated that Bonku Babu never liked going to these gatherings, reason being that he could handle boys at his school playing pranks on him, but when middle-aged men played tricks or practical jokes on him, it became too much to bear. So, Bonku Babu visited the lawyer Sripati Majumdar on weekends to spend some quality evenings with the group who gathered in his house. Okay. However, he was never satisfied going there. Every time he would tell himself that he would never visit that place again. The reason was that the group that gathered over there were completely insensible. Only the other day, less than 2 months ago, they were talking about ghosts. Usually, Bonku Babu kept his mouth shut. That day, for some unknown reason, he opened it and declared that he was not afraid of ghosts. That was all. But it was enough to offer a golden opportunity to the others. On his way back home later that night, Bonku Babu was attacked by a spook as in a ghost or an apparition, as he was passing under a tamarind tree. A tall, thin figure leapt down and landed on his back. As it happened, this apparition had smeared black ink all over itself, possibly at the suggestion of someone at the meeting. What happened was, later that same night, when he was on his way back home, as he walked past a tamarind tree, a person covered in black ink suddenly jumped and landed on Bonku Babu's back, trying to scare him. Now, this surprise attack by the apparition on Bonku Babu seemed to be pre-planned, okay, and indicated that maybe one or more people at the gathering were responsible. Next paragraph. Bonku Babu was not frightened, but he was injured. For 3 days, his neck ached. Worst of all, his new kurta was torn and it had black stains all over. What kind of a joke was this? Even so, Bonku Babu had to come to these meetings. If he didn't, what would Sripati Babu think? Not only was he a very important man in his school committee and in the village, but he couldn't do without Bonku Babu, who could provide amusement to all. Now, Bonku Babu was not scared, but he was injured due to the sudden attack. His neck ached for a long time, and his new kurta was also torn and had black marks on it. However, Bonku Babu decided to attend these meetings because he didn't want to offend Sripati Majumdar, who was a significant person in the school committee and in the village. Okay, and he was also aware that Sripati Babu liked Bonku Babu's presence in those gatherings so that he could provide amusement for all the people gathered over there. Next paragraph. On one particular day, the topic of conversation was space. In other words, they were talking of spaceships and space travel. Soon after sunset, a moving point of light had been seen in the northern sky. A similar light was seen 3 months ago, which had led to much speculation. In the end, it had turned out to be a Russian satellite called Kotka, or was it Foshka? Anyway, this satellite was supposed to be around Earth at a height of 400 miles and providing a lot of valuable information to scientists. So, one day, the people gathered in these addas were talking about space, as in spaceships or space travel. After sunset, there was a moving point of light visible on the northern sky. A similar kind of light was visible 3 months ago and people talked a lot about it. Finally, it was found out to be a Russian satellite called Kotka or Foshka. Nobody exactly knew what it was, but they enjoyed talking about it. Now, this satellite that was seen after sunset was going around the Earth from over a height of 400 miles. It was supposed to provide valuable information to the scientists. Next paragraph. That particular evening, Bonku Babu was the first to spot the strange light. Then he called Nidhu Babu and showed it to him. However, when he arrived at the meeting, he found that Nidhu Babu had coolly claimed full credit for being the first person to see it. Bonku Babu said nothing. No one in the group knew much about satellites, but that did not stop them from offering their views. Said Chati Babu, somebody sees a point of light in some obscure corner of the sky and the press gets all excited about it. All humbug. So that same evening, Bonku Babu spotted the light. Okay, he saw it first and showed it to Nidhu Babu. But when he reached the meeting, he saw that Nidhu Babu had falsely claimed that he was the first person to see the strange light. Okay, Bonku Babu did not object to that. He said nothing. Nidhu Babu wanted everyone to think that he was the first person to see the strange light, probably to look smart in front of everyone and get their attention. Therefore, he pretended to see something that he didn't see first. Now, Bonku Babu did not argue or object about it when Nidhu Babu took all the credit for seeing the light, probably because he was a very mild-mannered and a humble person who didn't like arguments and didn't care much about getting credit. Then the group started discussing about the accomplishments and contributions of a satellite. But Chadi Babu thought that satellites were useless and fake. Ramkanai countered this remark. He was still young. No, it may not be any of us here, but it is a human achievement surely, and a great achievement at that. However, Ramkanai disagreed to this and remarked that it was a great achievement for humanity, even if they didn't do it themselves. Next, all right, said Nidhu Babu, let's not talk of satellites. After all, it's just a machine going around the earth, they say. No different from a spinning top. A top would start spinning if you got it going, or a fan would start to rotate if you pressed a switch. A satellite's the same, but think of a rocket. That can't be dismissed so easily, can it? Here, after Ramkanai's remark, they were joking about the fact that only humans can make satellites, not a bunch of monkeys. After that, Nidhu Babu compared a satellite to a spinning top or a fan. He then redirected the topic of conversation to rockets, which he found to be more interesting. Next, Chandi Babu wrinkled his nose. A rocket? Why? What good is a rocket? Alright, if one was made here in our country, took off from the Maidan in Calcutta, and we could all go and buy tickets to watch the show, well then, that would be nice. But you were right, Ramkanai agreed. A rocket has no meaning for us here in this village. Chandi Babu wasn't much aware of a rocket either. He felt that if he could see a rocket being launched from Maidan in Calcutta after purchasing some ticket for some sort of a show, then it would have been very nice. Ramkanai agreed with Chandi Babu and supported his remark by saying that a rocket makes no sense in a village like theirs. Next paragraph. Bhairav Chakravarti spoke next. Suppose some creature from a different planet arrived on Earth? So what? Even if it did, you and I would never be able to see it. Yes, that's true enough. Now, Bhairav Chakravarti then remarked that it would be great if some creature from a different planet, as in aliens, arrived on Earth. However, they also agreed to the fact that even if some creature from a different planet arrived on Earth, they would never be able to see it. Next paragraph. Everyone turned their attention to their cups of tea. There did not seem to be anything left to be said. After a few moments of silence, Bonku Babu cleared his throat and said gently, Suppose they came here? So here we can see that the group fell silent and started drinking their tea. At that time, Bonku Babu broke the silence and gently floated the idea if an alien actually landed on their village. Next paragraph. Nidhu Babu feigned total amazement. Hey, Bonku wants to say something. What did you say, Bonku? Who's going to come here? Where from? Bonku Babu repeated his words, his tone still gentle. Suppose someone from a different planet came here? So, Nidhu Babu then pretended to be totally amazed by Bonku Babu's comment and started to tease him by making a total show of it. He mocked Bonku Babu as if an insignificant man like him had something to say. Bonku Babu understood very well that Nidhu Babu was mocking him. Still, he kept saying that maybe someone from another planet might come to their village. Next paragraph. As he did so often, Bhairav Chakravarti slapped Bonku Babu's back loudly and rudely, grinned and said, Bravo! What a thing to say! Where is a creature from another planet going to land? Not Moscow, not London, not New York, not even Calcutta, but here, in Kankurgachhi. You do think big, Bonku, don't you? Even though people were making fun of him, Bonku Babu stayed calm and polite. Bhairav Chakravarti, who often liked to make fun of Bonku Babu, gave him a loud and hard pat on his back, teasing him about what he had said. Bhairav Chakravarti believed that their village, Kankurgachhi, wasn't as important as big cities like Moscow, London, New York, or even Calcutta. So there was no reason for an alien to visit their village. Next paragraph. Bonku Babu fell silent, but several questions rose in his mind. Was it really impossible? If an alien had to visit the earth, would it really matter where it arrived first? It might not aim to go straight to any other part of the world. Alright, it was highly unlikely that such a thing would happen in Kankurgachhi village. But who was to say for sure that it could not happen at all? So here we can see that Bonku Babu did not say much about this incident, but he had many questions in his mind. He couldn't figure out why it was considered impossible. If an alien wanted to visit Earth, it could go anywhere first. To the alien, it might not matter if it's a small village or a big city. Bonku Babu thought that while it was unlikely for something like that to happen in their Kankurgachhi village, it wasn't entirely impossible. Srimati Babu was silent so far. Now, as he shifted in his seat, everyone looked at him. He put his cup down and spoke knowledgeably. Look, if someone from a different planet does come to Earth, I can assure you that he will not come to this God-forsaken place. Those aliens are no fools. It is my belief that they are sahibs and they will land in some western country where all the sahibs live. Understand? Here, Srimati Babu or Srimati Majumdar, who hadn't said anything until that moment, finally spoke up. He said that if an alien were to come to Earth, he was pretty sure that it wouldn't choose their village because they aren't foolish, as in the aliens aren't foolish. Srimati Majumdar believed that these aliens, who were like important people, as in referred to them as sahibs or foreigners, would land in a place fit for important people. Srimati Babu thought that an alien would surely choose a western country to land. This shows how some of the people in the group looked down upon on their own motherland, thinking that it wasn't as good as other countries. Next paragraph. Everyone agreed with the sole exception of Bonku Babu. Chade Babu decided to take things a bit further. He nudged Nidhu Babu silently, pointed at Bonku Babu and spoke innocently. Why? I think Bonku is quite right. Isn't it natural that aliens should want to come to a place where there is a man like our Bonkubihari? If they wanted to take away a human specimen, could they find anything better? No, I don't think so. Nidhu Babu joined in. Consider his looks, not to mention his brains. Yes, Bonku would be the ideal specimen. Right, suitable for keeping in a museum or a zoo. Ramkanai chipped in. Everyone except Bonku Babu agreed to this. However, Chade Babu wanted to humiliate Bonku Babu even further and hinted Nidhu Babu to look at Bonku Babu. Okay, and he said loudly that Bonku Babu was right. It was quite natural for aliens to come to their village as Bonkubihari Datta or Bonku Babu stayed there. Okay. Nidhu Babu added further that Bonku Babu would be the perfect human specimen for the aliens, especially in terms of his appearance, even if they didn't care about his knowledge. Ramkanai joined the conversation and suggested that the aliens would take Bonku Babu and put him in a zoo. Next paragraph. Bonku Babu did not reply, but wondered silently if anyone were to actually look for a specimen, weren't the others just as suitable? Look at Srimati Babu. His chin was so much like a camel's, and that Bhairav Chakravarti. His eyes were like the eyes of a tortoise. Nidhu Babu looked like a rat, Ramkanai like a goat, and Chade Babu like a flittermouse. If a zoo really had to be filled up, tears sprang to his eyes. Bonku Babu had come to the meeting hoping for once to enjoy himself. That was clearly not to be. He could not stay here any longer. He got to his feet. So, although Bonku Babu remained quiet and did not object to their mockery, he could not help but think, in his mind, there were better choices for the zoo. He thought about Srimati Babu's chin looking like a camel's, Bhairav Chakravarti's eyes resembling a tortoise's, Nidhu Babu looking like a rat, Ramkanai looking like a goat, Chade Babu looking like a flittermouse. Flittermouse as in a bat. Flittermouse is actually an old-fashioned English term for bat. Now, according to Bonku Babu, the aliens' zoo would be full if they took these people as specimens. Bonku Babu was deeply hurt by all the insults and his eyes started to fill with tears. He had come to the meeting hoping to have one good evening without being humiliated. But it seemed impossible. Feeling hurt and embarrassed, he decided to leave and go home. Next paragraph. Take care, Bonkuda, warned Ramkanai. It is a moonless night, remember? And it's a Saturday, very auspicious for ghosts and spooks. Everyone howled with delighted laughter. Now, as Bonku Babu was leaving, Ramkanai warned him to be careful, saying that it was a moonless night and ghosts could appear at any moment on his way. This reminded everyone of the previous incident when they scared Bonku Babu and they burst into joyful laughter. Next paragraph. Bonku Babu was not carrying a torch or a lantern. There was no need for it. It was too cold for snakes to be out and about, and he knew his way very well. Normally, not many people took this route, but it made a shortcut for him. So, Bonku Babu did not bring a torch or a lantern because it was too cold for snakes to be active, and he knew his way very well, so we can assume that it was probably winter. Bonku Babu did not think that he needed extra light. He chose a less used path as a shortcut to get home faster. Next paragraph. In the last few minutes, he had become aware of something unusual. At first, he could not put his finger to it. Somehow, things were suddenly different. What was wrong? What was missing? Suddenly, he realized what it was. The crickets were silent. Not one was chirping. Today, there was only an eerie silence. What had happened to all the crickets? Were they all asleep? Now, on his way home through the shortcut, Bonku Babu noticed something peculiar, but he couldn't understand what it was at first. But then he realized that the usually noisy crickets were quiet. Okay, they were absolutely silent and not one cricket was chirping. And that uncomfortable silence made everything a little bit frightening. Bonku Babu wondered why the crickets had suddenly gone quiet. He thought that maybe they were asleep or that something had happened to them. Now, students, please note that this part of the story leaves us with a sense of curiosity and mystery, therefore making us wonder what could be causing the unusual silence and why it is important. Next paragraph. Puzzled, Bonku Babu walked another 20 yards and then he suddenly saw the light. At first, he thought that a fire had broken out. Bang! In the middle of Pocha Ghosh's bamboo grove. In the clearing near a small pond, quite a large area was glowing pink. A dull light shone on every branch and every leaf. Down below, the ground behind the pond was lit by a much stronger pink light. But it was not a fire, for it was still. Now, as Bonku Babu kept walking, he saw something unusual. There was a pink light coming from a clearing in a bamboo grove near a small pond. The light made everything like the branches, leaves, and the ground behind Pocha Ghosh's pond look pink. But it wasn't a normal fire because it wasn't moving. Next, Bonku Babu kept moving. All at once, his ears began ringing. He felt as if someone was humming loudly, a long, steady noise. There was no way he could stop it. Bonku Babu broke out into goose pimples, but an irrepressible curiosity drove him further forward. Now, as Bonku Babu kept walking, his ears started ringing. He felt as if somebody was making a constant steady sound like a bee, a loud constant humming noise that won't stop. Now this sensation gave him goosebumps, but his curiosity pushed him to keep going forward. Next paragraph. As he went past a cluster of bamboo stems, an object came into view. It looked like a giant glass bowl turned upside down, covering the pond completely. It was through its translucent shade that a strong yet gentle pink light was coming out, to turn the whole area radiant. He took a few steps to get a better look, but suddenly felt as if An electric current had passed through his body. In the next instant, he was rendered completely immobile. His hands and feet were tied with an invisible rope. There was no strength left in his body. He would neither move forward nor backward. Now, as Bonku Babu went on through the cluster of bamboo stems, he came across a peculiar object. It looked like a giant glass bowl, but it was turned upside down, covering the whole pond. Okay, the name of the pond is Poncha Ghosh's pond. This bowl was see-through, but it was not completely clear. It was kind of transparent. Now, this giant glass bowl was giving off a bright pink light, making everything around it glow and created a radiant and unusual scene. At that moment, Bonku Babu took a few steps to get a closer look at something, but suddenly it felt as if he got a strong electric shock. Right after that, he couldn't move at all, as if there was an invisible rope holding him in place. He was completely stuck, unable to go forward or backward. Next paragraph. A few moments later, Bonku Babu, still fixed stiffly at the same spot, saw that the object had gradually stopped breathing. All at once, his ears ceased ringing and the humming stopped. So, after a short while, Bonku Babu saw that the object he was looking at stopped moving. And at that same time, the ringing in his ears and the humming sound also stopped. Next paragraph. A second later, a voice spoke, shattering the silence of the night. It sounded human, but was extraordinarily thin. It said loudly. Bonku Babu jumped a little. What did it mean? What language was this? And where was the speaker? The next words the voice spoke made his heart jump again.
Who are you? Who are you?
Why? These are English words. Was the question addressed to him? Bonku Babu swallowed. I am Bonkubihari Datta, sir. Bonkubihari Datta, he replied.
Are you English? Are you English?
The voice went on. No, sir. Bonku Babu shouted back. Bengali, sir. A Bengali, sir. Now, just as everything stopped and the strange feelings went away, a voice broke the silence of the night. The voice sounded human, but it was really thin, and it loudly said, Millipiping crook, Millipiping crook. These words surprised Bonku Babu, and he jumped a bit in shock. When the voice asked, Who are you? Who are you? In English, Bonku Babu understood the words. He started to wonder if the question was meant for him, which made him nervous. Therefore, he swallowed hard and answered, I am Bonkubihari Datta, sir, Bonkubihari Datta. Since Bonku Babu did not respond in his mother tongue, which was Bengali, the voice kept asking, Are you English? Are you English? Bonku Babu was quick to respond, firmly denying it by shouting back, No, sir, Bengali, sir. A Bengali, sir. Next paragraph. This was followed by a short pause. Then the voice came back, speaking clearly.
Namaskar.
Bonku Babu heaved a sigh of relief and returned the greeting. Namaskar, he said, suddenly realizing that the invisible bonds that were holding him tightly had disappeared. He was free to run away, but he did not. Now, his astounded eyes could see that a portion of the glass mound was sliding to one side, opening out like a door. After a short pause, the voice greeted Bonku Babu in Bengali with Namaskar. This made Bonku Babu feel relieved and he responded with a Namaskar. In that moment, he noticed that the invisible restraints that had kept him stuck in place had disappeared. Okay, and he had the freedom to leave, but he chose not to. As Bonku Babu looked around, he was surprised to see a part of the glass structure he had been staring at sliding open like a door. This discovery added even more mystery and intrigue to the situation, right? Suggesting that there might be more to uncover beyond the glass structure he had been observing. Next paragraph. Through that door emerged a head, like a plain, smooth ball, and then the body of a weird creature. Its arms and legs were amazingly thin. With the exception of its head, its whole body was covered by a shiny pink outfit. Instead of ears, it had tiny holes on each side of its head. On the face were 2 holes where there should have been a nose, and another gaping hole instead of a mouth. There was no sign of hair anywhere. Its eyes were round and bright yellow. They appeared to be glowing in the dark. So, as the door of the glass structure opened, a very strange creature came out. Okay, the creature had a head that looked like a plain, smooth ball. Its body was quite unusual, with really thin arms and legs. It was dressed all in shiny pink, except for its head. Instead of regular ears, it had small holes on the sides of its head, and instead of a normal nose, it had 2 holes on its face. Strangely, it didn't have a mouth. That means the creature didn't have a mouth, just a big hole where its mouth should be. There was no hair on its body at all. But the weirdest part of its body was its eyes. They were completely round and shone with a bright yellow color. They also gave off a glow in the dark. Now, students, please note that this detailed description makes the creature seem even more otherworldly and strange, right? Making everyone wonder and be curious about it. Next paragraph. The creature walked slowly towards Bonku Babu and stopped only a few feet away. Then it gave him a steady, unblinking stare. Automatically, Bonku Babu found himself folding his hands. Having stared at him for nearly a minute, it spoke in the same voice that sounded more like a flute than anything else.
Are you human?
Yes.
Is this Earth?
Yes.
I thought as much. My instruments are not working properly. I was supposed to go to Pluto. I wasn't sure where I had landed. So I spoke to you first in the language they use on Pluto. When you didn't reply, I could tell I had landed on Earth. A complete waste of time and effort. It happened once before. Instead of going to Mars, I veered off and went to Jupiter. Delayed me by a whole day, it did.
So, the strange creature slowly walked up to Bonku Babu and stopped just a few feet away. It looked right at him with an intense and unwavering glare. In response, Bonku Babu instinctively folded his hands, possibly as a sign of respect or submission. Now, after watching Bonku Babu for nearly a minute, the creature spoke again, using a voice that sounded more like a flute than anything else. So, what did the creature ask? The creature asked Bonku Babu, "Are you human?" Bonku Babu quickly answered yes. Then the creature asked him another question. "Is this Earth?" Once again, Bonku Babu confirmed that they were indeed on Earth with a simple yes. The creature realized that Bonku Babu was indeed human, just as it had suspected. It explained that its instruments malfunctioned, which caused it to land in a place it didn't intend to. The creature had originally wanted to go to Pluto, but wasn't sure where it had ended up. To check, it spoke to Bonku Babu in a language used on Pluto. But when it got no response, the creature figured out that it had landed on Earth. The creature was frustrated about this, seeing it was a waste of time and effort. It even mentioned a previous time when it had gone off course while trying to reach Mars and ended up on Jupiter, causing a whole day's delay. The creature finished what it was saying with a bit of mischievous laugh, as if it found the situation funny in some way. Bonku Babu did not know what to say. He was feeling quite uncomfortable. for the creature had reached out and was examining Bonku Babu's arms and legs with its long, bony fingers. When it finished, it introduced itself.
I am Anne from the planet Craneus, a far superior being than man.
So here we can say that Bonku Babu didn't know what to say and started feeling more and more uncomfortable as the creature reached out with its long skinny fingers and touched his arms and legs. After it finished, the creature introduced itself as Ang from the planet Craneus. Ang boldly claimed to be way better than humans, as if it was superior in every way. Next paragraph. What? This creature, barely 4 feet tall, with such thin limbs and weird face, was superior to man? Bonku Babu nearly burst out laughing. Ang read his mind immediately.
There's no need to be so skeptical. I can prove it. How many languages do you know?
Bonku Babu scratched his head. Bengali, English and Hindi, little Hindi.
You mean 2.5?
Yes.
I know 14,000. There isn't a single language in our solar system that I do not know. I also know 31 languages spoken on planets outside your system. I have been to 25 of them. How old are you?
I am 50.
I am 833. Do you eat animals?
Bonku Babu had had mutton curry only recently, on the day of Kali Puja. How could he deny it?
We stopped eating meat several centuries ago.
Ang informed him.
Before that, we used to eat the flesh of most creatures. I might also have eaten you.
Bonku Babu was really surprised by Ang's claim of being better than humans. He couldn't believe that a creature so small and with such a strange appearance could be superior. He was almost about to burst out laughing, but before he could, Ang seemed to read his thought. Ang challenged Bonku Babu's doubt and offered to prove its superiority. Ang started by asking how many languages Bonku Babu knew. Bonku Babu, scratching his head, said he knew Bengali, English and a bit of Hindi, hesitantly calling it 2.5 languages. But Ang was confident and boldly claimed to know a whopping 14,000 languages, including every language in Bonku Babu's solar system. Not only that, but Ang said it knew 31 languages spoken on planets outside of Bonku Babu's solar system. And Bonku Babu shared that he was 50 years old, to which Ang responded by stating its own age, that was 833 years. Then Ang asked Bonku Babu if he ate animals as part of his diet. Bonku Babu, who had recently had mutton curry during Kali Puja, found it hard to deny and admitted that humans do eat meat. In response, Ang told Bonku Babu that their species had stopped eating meat many centuries ago. Ang even revealed that in the past they used to eat the flesh of various creatures and somewhat playfully suggested that they might have eaten Bonku Babu himself. After knowing this, Bonku Babu felt very uncomfortable and uneasy. This conversation highlighted the big difference in dietary habits between humans and Ang's evolved species. Therefore, made the encounter between Bonku Babu and Ang even more intriguing and showing how different they were. Next, Bonku Babu swallowed hard.
Take a look at this.
Ang offered him a small object. It looked like a pebble. Bonku Babu touched it for an instant and felt the same electric current pass through his body. He withdrew his hand at once. Ang smiled.
A little while ago, you could not move an inch. Do you know why? It was because I had this little thing in my hand. It would stop anyone from getting closer. Nothing can be more effective than this in making any enemy utterly powerless without actually hurting him physically.
Bonku Babu swallowed hard as he was extremely uncomfortable and uneasy. At that time, Ang gave Bonku Babu a small object that looked like a pebble. Curious, Bonku Babu touched it for a moment, but suddenly he felt an electric shock go through his body. It startled him, and he quickly pulled his hand away from the object. Aang smiled when he saw Bonku Babu's reaction to the object. Aang then explained that this object was the reason Bonku Babu had been unable to move earlier. The object had the power to make anyone who got close to it completely immobile. Aang made it clear that this object was very effective. It could make an enemy completely powerless without even hurting them physically in any way. Next paragraph. Now, Bonku Babu was genuinely taken aback. His mind was coming out of its stunned state. Aang said,
Is there any place that you have wished to visit, or a scene that you have longed to see but never could?
Bonku Babu thought, why? The whole world remained to be seen. He taught geography, but what had he seen except a few villages and towns in Bengal? There was so much in Bengal itself that he had never had the chance to see. The snow-capped Himalayas, the seashore in Digha, the forests in the Sundarbans, or even the famous banyan tree in the botanical garden of Shibpur. Now, as Bonku Babu's amazement started to wear off, his mind began to recover from the shock of all the strange events that he saw. Aang went on to ask Bonku Babu if there was a place he had always wanted to visit or something he had yearned to see but hadn't been able to. Bonku Babu thought about it and realized that there was still a whole big world out there he hadn't explored. Even though he taught geography, his own travels had been limited to just a few villages and towns in Bengal. He understood that there were so many villages within Bengal itself that he had never had the chance to visit, like the snow-covered Himalayas, the seashores of Digha, the dense forests of the Sundarbans, and even the famous banyan tree in the botanical gardens of Shibpur. This showed his deep desire for new experiences and a broader view of the world around him. Next paragraph. However, he mentioned none of these thoughts to Aang. There is so much I would like to see, he finally admitted. But most of all, think I would like to visit the North Pole. I come from a warm country, you see. So Bonku Babu decided not to reveal the specific places he wanted to see to Aang. Instead, he simply admitted that there was a lot he wanted to explore. When asked about where he would like to go, Bonku Babu confessed that he had a special interest visiting the North Pole. He explained that since he came from a warm country, the idea of experiencing such a drastically cold environment fascinated him. Next paragraph. Aang took out a small tube, one end of which was covered by a piece of glass.
Take a look through this,
Aang invited. Bonku Babu peered through the glass and felt all his hair rise. Could this be true? Could he really believe his eyes? Before him stretched an endless expanse of snow, dotted with large hillocks, also covered with ice and snow. Above him, against a deep blue sky, all the colors of a rainbow were forming different patterns, changing every second. The aurora borealis. What was that? An igloo. There was a group of polar bears. Wait, there was another animal. A strange, peculiar nature. Yes, it was a walrus. There were two of them, in fact, and they were fighting. Their tusks were bared, large as radishes, and they were attacking each other. Streams of bright red blood were flowing on the soft white snow. So here we can see that Aang handed Bonku Babu a small tube with one end covered by a piece of glass. Curious, Bonku Babu looked through it, and what he saw left him in disbelief and awe. Right before his eyes, an incredible scene unfolded. He saw an endless stretch of snow with large icy hills dotting the landscape. Above him, against a deep blue sky, the vibrant and mesmerizing colors of the aurora borealis danced and swirled. As Bonku Babu kept watching, he noticed an igloo in the distance. But what really caught his attention was a group of polar bears nearby. However, there was another creature there too, and it was quite unusual and strange. Bonku Babu recognized it as a walrus, and to his shock, he saw that the walruses were engaged in a fierce and violent fight. They had their tusks out, and the snow around them was stained with bright red blood. This was a truly astonishing and intense sight for Bonku Babu. Next paragraph. It was December, and Bonku Babu was looking at an area hidden under layers of snow. Still, he broke out into a sweat.
What about Brazil? Don't you wish to go there?
Asked Anne. Bonku Babu remembered instantly. Piranhas, those deadly carnivorous fish. Amazing. How did this Anne know what he would like to see? Bonku Babu peered through the tube again. He could see a dense forest. Only a little scattered sunlight had crept in through the almost impenetrable foliage. There was a huge tree, and hanging from a branch, what was that? Oh God, he could never have imagined the size of that snake. Anaconda. The name flashed through his mind. Yes, he had read about it in an old issue of the National Geographic magazine. It was said to be much, much larger than a python. Now, even though it was December, Bonku Babu found himself sweating as he looked through the tube at the hidden snowy world and asked if he wanted to visit Brazil. And this made Bonku Babu remember the dangers of that region. He couldn't forget about the piranhas, those deadly carnivorous fish that lived on the waters of Brazil. Bonku Babu was amazed at how Ang seemed to know what he liked and wanted to see. He looked through the tube once more and saw a dense forest where only bits of sunlight could pierce through the thick foliage. His attention was drawn to a massive tree, and from it hung a truly astonishing sight. Bonku Babu realized that it was an anaconda, a giant snake species. The name flashed in his mind, and he remembered reading about it in an old issue of National Geographic magazine, where it was described as even larger than a python. Next paragraph. Oh, here was a canal. Crocodiles lined its banks, sleeping in the sun. One was going to go into the water. Splash! Bonku Babu could almost hear the noise, but the crocodile had jumped out of the water very quickly, with his eyes nearly popping out. Bonku Babu noted there was virtually no flesh left on the belly of the crocodile. Bones were showing through clearly. Attached to the remaining flesh were 5 fish with amazingly sharp teeth and a monstrous appetite. Piranhas. Bonku Babu could not bear to watch anymore. His limbs were trembling. His head reeled painfully. So here we can see that as Bonku Babu keeps looking through the tube, he comes upon a canal where crocodiles were bathing along the banks of the water. One of the crocodiles gets ready to enter the water, and with a splash, it dives in. It appears as if Bonku Babu can almost hear the sound of the water. But to his astonishment, the crocodile suddenly leaps out of the water. With wide eyes, Bonku Babu notices that the crocodile's belly has been almost entirely stripped of flesh, revealing its bones. Still clinging to the remaining flesh are 5 fish, and these fish are unmistakably piranhas with their sharp teeth and voracious appetite. This is a shocking and dramatic sight for Bonku Babu. The intense and disturbing scenes Bonku Babu witnessed through the tube overwhelmed him to the point that he couldn't continue watching. His limbs trembled and he felt a painful dizziness in his head. Next paragraph.
Now do you believe that we are superior?
Ang wanted to know. Bonku Babu ran his tongue over his parched lips. Yes, oh yes, certainly, of course, he croaked.
Very well. Look, I have been observing you and I have examined your arms and legs. You belong to a much inferior species. There is no doubt about that. However, as human beings go, you are not too bad. I mean, you are a good man, but you have a major fault. You are much too meek and mild. That is why you have made so little progress in your life. You must always speak up against injustice and protest if anyone hurts or insults you without any provocation. To take things quietly is wrong, not just for man, but for any creature anywhere. Anyway, it was nice to have met you, although I wasn't really supposed to be here at this time. There is no point in wasting more time on your earth. I had better go.
Goodbye, Mr. Ang. I am very glad to have made your... Bonku Babu could not complete his sentence. In less than a second, almost before he could grasp what was happening, Ang had leapt into his spaceship and had risen over Ponchaghosh's bamboo grove. Then he vanished completely. Bonku Babu realized that the crickets had started chirping again. It was really quite late. We can see that Ang was seeking validation for the superiority of his species and asked Bonku Babu if he then believed in their superiority. Struggling to find his voice, Bonku Babu managed to croak out a response, affirming his belief in the superiority of Ang and his kind. The immensely scary or harrowing images that he had seen had left a profound impact on Bonku Babu, strengthening the idea that beings like Ang possessed capabilities and knowledge far beyond ordinary humans. As Bonku Babu tries to bid farewell to Ang and express his gratitude, he is abruptly interrupted. In a swift and almost incomprehensible motion, Ang leaps out into his spaceship and goes above Ponchaghosh's bamboo grove and disappears entirely. Bonku Babu is then left in astonishment, realizing that the silence that had enveloped the surroundings is now replaced by the familiar chirping of crickets. He becomes aware of the lateness of the hour, indicating that time had seemingly passed quickly during his encounter with Ang. This sudden departure of Ang highlights their brief encounter. Bonku Babu is then left to reflect on the extraordinary encounter he has just experienced, contemplating the reality of it and the impact it will have on his life. Next paragraph. Bonku Babu resumed walking towards his home, his mind still in a wondrous haze. Slowly, the full implications of the recent events began to sink in. A man, no, it was not a man, it was an Ang, had come here from an unknown planet and spoken to him. How extraordinary, how completely incredible. There are billions and billions of people in the world, but who got the chance to have this wonderful experience? Bonkubihari Datta, teacher of geography and Bengali in the Kankurgachhi Village Primary School. No one else. From today, at least in this particular matter, he was unique in the whole wide world. Bonku Babu realized that he was no longer walking with a spring in every step, he was actually dancing. So, what do we come to know here? Bonku Babu continues his journey home, his mind still filled with wonder and amazement. Gradually, he begins to grasp, as in understand, the profound significance of the recent events. A human being, not just a man, but an Ang from an unknown planet had come to Earth and had spoken directly to him. This realization dawns on Bonku Babu, leaving him awestruck by the extraordinary nature of his experience. In a world populated by billions of people, Bonku Babu recognizes the rarity and exclusivity of his encounter. He understands that he alone had the privilege of such a remarkable experience. In this particular aspect, he becomes truly unique, standing apart from anyone else in the entire world. This newfound sense of uniqueness and extraordinary connection fills Bonku Babu's heart with joy and elation, as in happiness. Now, as this realization sinks in, Bonku Babu's enthusiasm and happiness becomes tangible. That means he could feel it. He feels an overwhelming surge of energy and excitement, prompting him to dance rather than walk. With each step, it appears as if he is jumping, and he gives off a sense of newfound confidence and joy, thereby embracing the extraordinary experience that has forever marked his life. Next paragraph. The next day was a Sunday. Everyone had turned up for their usual meeting at Sripati Babu's home. There was a report in the local newspaper about a strange light, but it was only a small report. This light had been seen by a handful of people in only 2 places in Bengal. It was therefore being put in the same category as sightings of flying saucers. Tonight, Pocha Ghosh was also present at the meeting. He was talking about his bamboo grove. All the bamboos around the pond in the middle of the wood had lost all their leaves. It was not unusual for leaves to drop off in winter, but for many plants to become totally bare overnight was certainly a remarkable occurrence. Everyone was talking about it when suddenly Bhairav Chakravarti said, "Why is Bonku so late today?" So, what do we see here? The day after Bonku Babu's extraordinary encounter with Ang, the members of the regular Sunday meeting gather at Sripati Babu's home as usual. In the local newspaper, there is a brief mention of a strange light that had been observed by a few individuals in 2 different locations in Bengal. However, it is regarded as just another sighting of unidentified flying objects, therefore receiving minimal attention. During the meeting, Pocha Ghosh shares an unusual incident regarding his bamboo grove. All the bamboos surrounding the pond in the middle of the woods have unexpectedly shed all their leaves overnight. While leaf shedding is common during winter, the sudden and complete removal of all the leaves of numerous plants is considered a remarkable occurrence, therefore capturing the attention and discussion of everyone present in the gathering. Everyone stopped talking. So far, no one had noticed Bonku Babu's absence. Amidst the conversation, Bhairav Chakravarti realizes that Bonku Babu has not yet arrived at the meeting. Therefore, he interrupted the discussion and asked about his whereabouts. Therefore, it becomes evident that no one had noticed Bonku Babu's absence until that moment, raising curiosity and concern about his whereabouts. Next paragraph. I don't think Bonku will show his face here today. Didn't he get an earful yesterday when he tried to open his mouth? Said Nidhu Babu. No. Sripati Babu sounded concerned. We must have Bonku. Ramkanai, go and see if you can get hold of him. Okay, I'll go as soon as I've had my tea, replied Ramkanai, and was about to take a sip when Bonku Babu entered the room. No, to say entered would be wrong. It was as if a small hurricane swept inside in the guise of a short, dark man, throwing everyone into stunned silence. Then it swung into action. Bonku Babu burst into a guffaw and laughed uproariously for a whole minute, the like of which no one had heard before, not even Bonku Babu himself. Now, Nidhu Babu speculates that Bonku Babu may be hesitant to attend the meeting due to the negative response he received when he tried to share his experience the previous day. However, Sripati Babu expresses concern and insists on having Bonku Babu present. He asks Ramkanai to go and find Bonku Babu, hoping to bring him back to the meeting. At that time, Ramkanai was about to take a sip of his tea and responds to Sripati Babu's request by stating that he will go find Bonku Babu after finishing his tea. However, before he can go do that, Bonku Babu abruptly enters the room, causing a dramatic effect. His entrance has been described as a small hurricane. Okay, Bonku Babu's entrance astonishes everyone and leaves them in stunned silence. However, Bonku Babu quickly breaks the silence by bursting into uncontrollable laughter, a laughter so unique and extraordinary that it surpasses any previous laughter that he has ever displayed. Next paragraph. When he could finally stop, he cleared his throat and began speaking. Friends, I have great pleasure in telling you that this is the last time you will see me at your meetings. The only reason I am here today is simply that I would like to tell you a few truths before I go. Number 1. This is for all of you. You all speak a great deal of absolute rubbish. Only idiots talk of things they don't know anything about. Number 2. This is for Chandi Babu. At your age, hiding other people's shoes and umbrellas is not just childish but totally stupid and wrong. Kindly return my umbrella and brown canvas shoes to my house tomorrow. Now we can see the change and the confidence in Bonku Babu. After his outburst of laughter, he addressed the gathered individuals and announces that it will be his last appearance at their meetings. Now we can see the confidence and change in Bonku Babu's behavior. After his outburst of laughter, he addresses the gathered individuals and announces that it will be his last appearance at their meetings. He proceeds to express his dissatisfaction with their discussions, labeling them as absolute rubbish and criticizing their tendency to speak about things they are ignorant about. He specifically calls out Chandi Babu for his childish and wrong behavior of hiding other people's belongings. Therefore, he requests him to return his own umbrella and brown canvas shoes to his house the following day. Next paragraph. Nidhu Babu, if you call me Bonku, I shall call you Nitwit, and you must learn to live with that. And Sripati Babu, you are an important man. Of course you must have chamchas, sycophants, but let me tell you, from today you can count me out. If you like, I can send my cat to you. It's quite good at licking feet. And, oh, you are here as well. Poncha Babu, let me inform you and everyone else that last night an Ang arrived from the planet Craneus and landed on the pond in your bamboo grove. We had a long chat. The Ang was most amiable. So, finally, Bonku Babu confronts Nidhu Babu and warns him that if he continues to call him Bonku, he will respond by calling Nidhu Babu Nitwit. He also says that Sripati Babu, being an important person, surrounds himself with flatterers, but from that moment, Bonku Babu no longer be a part of that circle. He then sarcastically suggests sending his cat, which is an expert at licking feet, to Sripati Babu instead. Bonku Babu then reveals that an Ang from the planet Craneus landed on Pocha Babu's bamboo grove the previous night and they had a friendly conversation. Next paragraph. Bonku Babu finished his speech and slapped Bhairav Chakravarti's back so hard that he choked. Then he made his exit, striding out with a bounce and a whistle, his eyes sparkling, his head held high. In the same instant, the cup fell from Ramkanai's hand, shattering to pieces and splattering hot tea on most of the others. So, the story has almost come to an end. After delivering his speech, Bonku Babu slaps Bhairav Chakravarti on the back forcefully, causing him to choke. With an air of confidence and excitement, Bonku Babu then leaves the room, walking briskly with a spring in his step, whistling along the way. His eyes shine with enthusiasm and he carries himself with pride and self-assurance. So, what do we see here? After Bonku Babu's encounter with Ang, there is a change in his behavior and personality. At the beginning of the story, we can see Bonku Babu as a calm, meek and a mild-mannered individual who often becomes the subject of ridicule and mockery by the members of his Sunday meeting group as well as his students. Earlier, we have noticed that he appears to be reserved, calm and composed even when faced with insults hurled at him by his students. His character is marked by a deep curiosity about the world beyond his limited experience in Bengal. However, by the end of the story, a remarkable transformation has taken place. Bonku Babu has undergone a profound change in his behavior and his demeanor. He appears to be a more confident and assertive individual who is not afraid to express his opinions and challenge the ignorance of his friends or his peers. Okay. His encounter with Aang from the planet Craneus has filled him with a sense of uniqueness and self-assuredness, leading him to break away from the group and embrace a newfound sense of joy and enthusiasm for life. Bonku Babu's character has evolved from a timid and passive figure to a bold and self-confident one, forever marked by his extraordinary encounter with the alien being. That is all for now, everyone. I hope this explanation of Bonku Babu's friend helped you to understand the prose piece a lot better. Thank you for listening. Bye.